I just want to welcome everybody tonight to our third Talk of the Town, also known as a town hall style meeting. Like I said, this is our third one. We've been moving these around our community. I want to welcome everybody that's in the room tonight, as well as those that are online watching and tuning in. This will be live streamed, and of course, after tonight, this will be up for YouTube for anybody to be able to view and have moving forward. So when I ran for this position as mayor in our community, I said I wanted to get City Hall outside of the building itself. The building itself sometimes is a little bit intimidating for people. And people get intimidated by coming and looking and even coming to a meeting, let alone coming and speaking and addressing their government. And I think as elected officials, we need to be out and about with people and be right there with them, being able to answer questions. And so I think it's best sometimes that we move away from our turf and get onto other people's turf and in their backyard. So tonight we're coming to you from HCA's new training facility here at the Pearland Town Center. I want to welcome David Wagner, our CEO of the Pearland Hospital right here with HCA. So David, first off, thank you for opening up this beautiful building and this beautiful home. And tell us a little bit about this facility and HCA in Pearland.
Sure, you bet. HCA's training center is actually the brainchild of our HCA Healthcare corporate education partners. We're a national healthcare company, 185 hospitals across the United States, and there is recognition that with the ongoing shortage of healthcare worker, that we needed to begin to make some investments in how we were going to continue to foster and grow that workforce. And so the HCA company began looking at major markets, identifying areas where they could place these centers, to which I went to bat for getting one in Pearland. I felt that the ability to get here on the major crossroads was far more convenient than some of the other areas of town, and they agreed and built this very nice two-story, 48,000 square foot building. It accommodates any kind of multi-purpose classroom from up to 500 people to as small as 10 and 15 people. Simulation labs for advancement of clinical practice. There are even the virtual hoods that you can wear to pretend that you are on one of those video games but caring for somebody. Mannequins that are almost lifelike with tears and changing symptoms that they present, allowing the nurse or the caregiver to be challenged with, if the rhythm changes, what are you going to do about it? And so we've been open now for about 4 months. We've brought any number of our STAR-ins, our new nurse graduates, through these doors.
Very nice.
And continue also with some organizational development activities.
Yeah, I think this, and it's situated right here in the middle of the town center. And of course, you know, you can see some of the stores behind us. I mean, we are right in the middle of it. If you're watching online, this is what the building looks like outside. It's an absolutely beautiful building. It's a gorgeous building. Of course, at night it's lit up, so it's very well presented. So I know it's a great home. And I know at some point, you know, when you're really running this facility the way you see it, you're talking 200-300 people a day possibly coming through this facility. So for the town center folks, I mean, that means people in the town center eating lunch, eating breakfast, eating dinner, shopping, and those types of things, and spending it. And those are folks that are not necessarily from Houston, I would imagine, but I think this is a Gulf Coast type of region, correct? It is. But how big is the Gulf Coast?
Gulf Coast Division is 16 hospitals. We have 13 in the Houston market, Corpus Christi, McAllen, and Brownsville. Okay, so we certainly want to welcome the folks from Corpus and Brownsville up to the Houston area. They can stay in our hotels, they can shop and be here locally. But I think the biggest thing that you said is the training. And so my last town hall was at U of H Clear Lake Pearland campus, and we were in their healthcare facility, brand new. They've got a great partnership with Alvin Community College in training nurses. Right. So there is a nursing shortage in the healthcare industry, and I'm sure that's tough on delivery of healthcare services and scheduling. So you're trying to do that from within and making sure that your own folks are
trained, ready to go. You're not having to send them somewhere else, but we're keeping those in the Houston area. What does a facility like this mean to your healthcare staff?
Well, I was at a nursing function earlier today to recognize excellence in nursing, and one of the statistics they threw out was that by 2023 there are going to be 53,000 jobs for nurses that will go unfilled in the Houston area.
What year?
2023.
So 2 years from now.
2 years from now, 53,000 roles that will not be filled because we don't have the workforce. So our goal with this center is not to replace the area colleges and universities, but to be an additional place that we can polish skills, develop confidence in the nurses and their skill set and what they're doing, and then be able to bring them into the hospitals in a more controlled fashion so that they feel very good about what they're doing in the field.
Possibly train and move up?
Absolutely.
You know, so you want to promote from within, which I think is great. Even at the city, we like the opportunity to promote from within all of our different departments, because you understand and know who your worker is already. Correct. Right?
Yes, sir.
So you want them to move on and get the right training. So David, and I'm going to ask this question, but I'd also like Noel Cardenas and Stuart Kaye to make your way up here. We've got a couple more spots at the table as we talk about this healthcare provider section. But David, tell us a little bit about your hospital and what's happening here in Pearland, and where do you see that going in the future?
Okay.
Yeah.
Our hospital was opened at Shadow Creek in 288 in February of 2015 is when we opened our doors. We opened as a fairly small hospital with the idea of growing with the community. And as you all have seen, the population not only in Pearland but down the 288 corridor and east and west have all blossomed with new housing areas, new neighborhoods and families. And we have grown with that. Our volume has picked up to where we are at capacity almost every single day, part of that due in large part to the pandemic. But that has given us the opportunity to now consider expanding the hospital, adding new and additional services to our facility, and then from there making care far more convenient on a local basis rather than having to travel up to the medical center or other locations around the area.
That's awesome. I'd like to introduce Noel Cardenas. Noel is the President CEO of Memorial Hermann Southeast and the Pearland Hospital. And I know, we're in an HCA facility. We have competitors, if you will, at the table tonight. But more than competitors, I think you guys are, you're in the same space, and you just want to bring health care to people. You offer maybe similar services in different facilities, but at the end of the day, you guys are just trying to treat people and help people with the circumstances that are around them. So, Noel, I want to talk a little bit about, obviously you have the Pearland campus, which is an extension of your Southeast campus. Tell us a little bit about that, but also in the process, tell us a little bit about your nursing and some of the recent awards that you guys have received, and the significance to that, not only to Memorial Hermann, but what does that mean to Pearland?
No, so we're really proud of, most recently we were recognized being a magnet certified hospital, and what that defines us as is nursing excellence. So it's part of the American Nurses Credentialing Centers for Magnet Recognition Program. So it was a long journey for us to go through that. When you talk about how long, you're talking about a decade. So it was something that our system has been really proud of. Several of our other facilities are magnet certified. What's unique about our campus between Southeast and Pearland was that the magnet program allowed our campuses to go through this together. So we were one of the few that's ever been able to do that. And as I said, it was a journey for many, many years. It looks at quality outcomes from our nurses. It looks at their education. It looks at their skill sets. And so we submitted a document over a year ago, and that document went through extensive, they looked through every part of that, and we had to actually provide, where we're given scenarios, we would provide stories about the things that are going on in our hospitals. And when that document went through, we received it back, and they had 3 minor deficiencies, which is kind of unheard of. And so we quickly corrected those, and then they had to come out for a site survey, where they actually send surveyors out. They were virtual, though, due to the pandemic, but we literally rolled a robot with a camera around, and they went throughout all of our facilities to include our League City Convenient Care Center.
Wow.
So we received that recognition a few months ago. Obviously being the only magnet certified hospitals on this side of the community speaks a lot about our nurses and their commitment to excellence. So we're really proud of that. We continue to share that. And I tell you, it was a big boost for our staff, especially after everything we've been through the last 20 months with dealing with the pandemic. And it really did identify all the hard work and commitment that our nurses put into their profession. And you did mention the shortage, and it's something we're all going to deal with as we move forward. So any opportunities like this where we can train and educate and bring in more people into the healthcare, especially into the nursing profession, is going to be key to success. As David mentioned, that shortfall in 2 years from now, but we're already feeling that now. Mm-hmm. And on top of that shortfall, we're also seeing the impact of what the pandemic has done to some of our nurses. And we've had several, across that have left the profession because of what they deal with. Some of them had to take a break. Some of them opted to do something else. So we're obviously reaching out to them. But the one thing I will say about our systems, and you mentioned we're competitive, but I will say this, that through, the last 20 months, we've been doing a lot across Houston and the surrounding communities, Pearland and others that are part of Houston, and working together as we were all dealing with the same challenges, but it really was a team effort to get us where we are today. And I know there's a lot of collaboration between all of our healthcare systems. And HCA is one of them, just as we are, as well as some of the work we did with Kelsey-Seybold, and obviously the vaccination programs and so forth, and then obviously working with community leaders. So again, going back to that, we're really proud of it, and obviously we have to continue that excellence because they come back and recertify us in a few years.
Absolutely. Yeah, once you get it, you got to keep it.
Right.
And we know that from the city. I mean, we've received numerous awards over the years, and it's great to achieve those, but now you got to maintain it, right? And because you've set the standard, and you can't let it slip, and you can't let it fall. I'm going to come back to both of you on some questions, but I'd like to introduce Stuart Kaye with Kelsey-Seybold. And Stuart, welcome. I've known Stuart, and the great thing is I've actually had the opportunity to serve with all three of these, and Chamber of Commerce and their board, and they make up a great team there, along with many other board members. Stuart, I think it's safe to say Kelsey has their home office in our great city, and that's where you work out of. But tell me a little bit about what's being done to increase quick health care in the Pearland area.
Thank you, Mayor Cole. We've always been interested in providing same-day service, and that's been a sort of a tenet of ours for a number of different years. And we've been here in the Pearland area since 2002. And we started in a little 6-provider clinic. We moved down the road here. Kind of gravitated up to 12 providers, and now we're in our newest location here in Pearland, and that right down the road as well, and with space up to 27 providers. But one of the things that we've always done, back to your question, is trying to provide same-day service, and one of the ways that we're able to do that during the pandemic was immediately turn on our virtual care system. And in the period of about 2 days, we went from about 2% of our business being virtual care to 90% of our business being virtual care. And so being able to offer that to, frankly, patients that were leery of coming into the clinic, of also offering that to our providers as an option to see their patients who are also leery of the situation, it really opened up a way for our citizens here in the Pearland community to have access to care. But that virtual care doesn't stop at 5 o'clock. We see virtual video patients up until 10 o'clock, pretty much 7 days a week. And so we continue that with that tenet and providing virtual care as well as face-to-face visits. Sometimes you need to put your hands on somebody. Right. If you've got a hot belly or something, there's no substitute for seeing a patient in person. But we certainly were able to really utilize our platform, which we had built years prior to the pandemic, and really leverage that for the community here in Pearland. And with our growing presence here in the Pearland, you mentioned our corporate office. We've been here for about 7 or 8 years, and we're about ready to expand our clinic actually to even further increase our presence from basically 27 to about 45 providers.
That's awesome. And so I think hopefully those, not only in the audience here, but also online, you're seeing we're becoming a little bit of a healthcare hub. And here in Pearland, we've been growing fast and those types of things, but we've also been growing with quality. And it's a saying that we like to say often: we are the community of choice of the greater Houston area. And part of that, we have to have healthcare partners. We have to have the hospitals and healthcare right here in our community. At the same time, I mean, we have tremendous people that live in our community that commute into the Texas Medical Center every day. Texas Medical Center is in our backyard, and we probably have the largest concentration of employees in the medical center living, in our community. So they have chosen to live here, but it's great to have community partners as yourself to be a part of that. So I want to talk a little bit about community partnerships, okay? But also want to talk a little bit about the pandemic and how all of this, because all of you in your respective organizations have been a part of COVID testing, COVID vaccinations, and the like. I want to do highlight many people that are watching online may have gotten a COVID vaccine through our own City of Pearland point of delivery, our pod that was at the rec center, back in the spring. We delivered 24,000 and change shots to people over many weeks. Kelsey Seabolt was our partner in that. Kelsey Seabolt is our healthcare partner for the city, so we chose them. And I know Kelsey didn't want to take a lot of credit for that, but I would be remiss if tonight we didn't say thank you to Kelsey for stepping up and being a part of that.
Well, thank you as well. It felt good to be a part of that, and I think everybody wanted to do something, and so it just, and we were all, as much as we are competitors, we are partners in this business, and we work together on a daily basis. We have patients in HCA. We have, I think, 44 today and 49 in Memorial Hermann just today, in and around the greater Houston area. But it felt good to be a part of something that big and that special. And just to get in and get something done. So we appreciate the opportunity that we had to work with the City of Pearland, and look forward to the next. God forbid there's another pandemic, but we're here to serve.
Well, the great thing is we know we can do it if we need to, and you're right. I hope we never see that again. Obviously, this virus is going to be here, as long as we live. But how we deal with it and morph and change is just much like many of the other viruses we've learned from, and we'll get there. So David, let's come back a little bit about, as far as HCA is concerned, let's talk a little bit about COVID. What's happening with COVID in your hospitals, over the last, I know we've had a big rise, we're seeing a fall now. Thank goodness the numbers are coming down. But tell us a little bit about the hospital and how you've been dealing with COVID.
All right, thank you. I think the best way to characterize this COVID is that every day has been a new learning day. And you go back to January of 2020 when we started to see this migration of a virus across the Pacific Ocean and tried to speculate on how it might impact us. And I go back to what Stuart and Noel both said, the collaboration that we developed best practices over that time period and shared those best practices with each other so that the community as a whole would benefit from the care that was being provided. Yes, we've seen 3, 4 very large surges. It has really taxed the hospital environment because of the number of people who got admitted to the hospital who were critically ill. What's fascinating to me about it is the age difference. The first surge was the elderly and a lot of those patients with comorbidities, other disease processes that the COVID virus really impacted. And then that started to taper off, and then we had some holidays and people gathered and started to relax, and we had another surge. And then we get into a time period where we do start to see the opportunity for a vaccine.
Right.
And the amount of debate out there about the efficacy of the vaccine really lent itself to this last surge that we've been through, which has been labeled fondly the pandemic of the unvaccinated. because what you have seen is it's predominantly those who have not received the vaccine who have been admitted to the hospitals. Those that have had the vaccine but had a breakthrough and were positive for COVID had very minor hospitalizations and or illnesses because they did have some protection on board. So we're learning every day. There's no good answer, but if you just looked at the statistics, you would see that we're far better off with a vaccine. We're far better off continuing some of the practices of distancing, sanitizing, masking, and it will also go to service when we get into the fall here, depending on what the flu has in store for us this year.
Right. That's a good, you bring up a good point. You know, vaccine is readily available. All three of your organizations have it available. I'm assuming you have the different vaccines available, not just one, because I know there's multiple that are out there. I think people need to do their homework, figure out what they want to do, you know, choose to be vaccinated or not, but it's readily available. You know, my message to people is be responsible. Like you mentioned, we've kind of learned back to what our mom and dad used to tell us: you wash your hands and be clean and do those kind of things. And so it's just bringing that back to the forefront. If you feel comfortable wearing a mask, wear a mask. If you don't, I mean, it's your choice. If somebody that owns a business does not want to let people in unless they have a mask on, respect their choice, respect their business, respect their space. And two things that we've lost in this country that I talk about, and I've talked about it relative to COVID, is it's responsibility and respectability. Just be responsible and then respect others and their wishes. Don't take it upon yourself to just, you know, force what you're saying and doing just down somebody, okay? But be respectful. We can disagree on certain things, and at the same time we can be respectful and responsible in the process. Noel, I'd like to talk a little bit about community involvement. I know Memorial Hermann is a big community partner. It's part of your core beliefs as an organization. Tell us a little bit about what that means to Memorial Hermann.
So it really, when you look at our vision and what we're trying to do and our mission between advancing health and then obviously getting into our communities and getting our communities healthier, just not now, but when you look at for generations to come, we've done a lot of things across our system, especially when you look at areas where it's in most need. You know, we've got at least a dozen of what we call community-based clinics, which are in areas where, you know, and most recently I learned that about 67% of them support the Hispanic population in Houston. And these are individuals, these are for kids that don't have access to health care. And by putting these clinics in the schools, we're able to provide that care to them, which they wouldn't have otherwise. By receiving that care, it keeps them in school. By not missing classes, they're able to then continue and complete their education. And we know that, you know, I'm a product of a mom who was an educator. She was a teacher. She, you know, people ask me, how is it that you write so nice? And I said, well, my mom every day when I was, you know, in the same grade level where she was a teacher, she sat me in front of her desk and I did that cursive writing for an hour each day. But she stressed the importance of education. And that's what we've really got to do, is we've got to keep our kids healthier, as well as their parents and the adults, and keep them in school so that they can complete that part of the process. But there's also other things that we've obviously partnered here in the local community with Dr. Nathan. We've got what's called a SEVA clinic, which most recently broke ground on a new site. And, you know, this was a vision that was from the annual health fair at the Sri, I'm trying to see if I make sure I get this right, the Sri Menaski Temple,
Right.
which saw the need in this community to be able to provide care for those who don't have access to it, who can't afford it. And this clinic provides that to them one day a week. By them growing into this new facility, and we've partnered with them to help them, and this goes back to when it first started and working with Dr. Nathan, that will expand those services. And these are all physicians that do this for free. They don't charge. They provide these services, and mostly it's focused on primary care, which is really where it starts. And you've got to make sure that folks have access to it. There's also a big need in when you start looking at the challenges that we're facing with behavioral health. And, you know, this pandemic has just compounded that situation across this country and across our community. And we're seeing this more and more in our emergency rooms. And because that's their access to care. And
Right.
this is where law enforcement brings them to our emergency rooms. Families bring them to our emergency room because they don't have access and the ability to seek out that behavioral health that they need and the follow-up care with that. So they come into our emergency rooms. So there's a lot of things that we're doing. We've got community clinics out there. We've got 3 within our system which we provide to be able to provide access to patients that need that immediate response when they're having a crisis.
That's awesome. We're going to start transitioning, and while we do, I'm going to transition from this panel. We have another panel that's going to be coming up, and I'd like both Russ and Frank to start making your way this way. But as they do, y'all go ahead and come on up, and they'll replace you guys here at the table for just a second. But while they do, I want to let people know, if you have a question, if you have a comment, you can comment online. Those in the audience, we're going to take some questions here in a little bit. So y'all go ahead and come on up, and that way you can be ready for this, as well as Matt Buchanan with our Economic Development Corporation. I'm going to go ahead and as they're doing that and getting situated, kind of address an elephant in the room, if you will, in our community. As you know, many of us, as many of you know, we've transitioned from one waste collection company to another, okay? And so it's been a little bit of a challenge getting the old recycle carts from one company picked up from Waste Management. They have struggled in doing that. They admittedly have struggled. But the good news is they estimated some 34,500 carts in our community. As of today, they've got, or as of yesterday, they've had about 24,500 of those picked up. So they're about 2/3 of the way through. Their goal by the end of this week and through Saturday is to have pretty much the bulk of that picked up. I'm quite sure they'll have a straggler or two that's still sitting out there because somebody didn't have it picked up. So we're just asking people to be a little bit more patient, be patient through the end of this week. Hopefully we get the vast majority of those picked up. And at the end of this week, we will have been 2 weeks into the new company, Frontier Waste Solutions. And so I'm firmly believe that as we get into the end of this month and into November, people will not even remember the early weeks of this, and we'll be moving right on with our community and our new service provider. But feel free to answer any questions. We're going to take some questions here in a minute. And so we've heard a little bit about our healthcare providers, the people who see patients every day, deal with emergencies and those types of things. And Pearland and our Economic Development Corporation has had a strategy, literally probably 15 years or so, of attracting and bringing the life sciences or biomedical research as well as biomedical manufacturing to our community. As we all know, and I mentioned in the previous portion, we have the Texas Medical Center, world-class Texas Medical Center in our backyard, and so there's a lot of companies that want to sell their what they make and what they do to the medical center, but it's a little bit easier on the manufacturing dollar to do that out here, in Pearland, and we want them here because we want those jobs here. Like I mentioned, we want to be a community of choice. We want to be a community of choice for people to live, but we also want to be a community of choice of people to bring their business here. So I want to introduce a couple of folks. We have Matt Buchanan, our president of our Pearland Economic Development Corporation here today. We have Mr. Frank Bugg. He's the site director with Lonza. We're going to get into what Lonza does here in just a minute. And then we have Russ Millar with, what's Millar's full name? Just Millar. Okay. And they're a medical manufacturing type of company in the biomedical space. And we're going to talk a little bit about what they do. And it's amazing when you drive over here on Kirby, there's a lot of businesses up and down the road, and you'd just be amazed at what goes on behind in the walls of those companies. So Frank, you guys opened, what, 200,000-300,000 square feet of space, which is just mind-boggling how big that facility is. But you got room for more, and we want more. So tell us a little bit about Lonza and what you guys do, especially what you do here.
Yeah, sure. So Lonza is a contract development and manufacturing organization. What does that mean? We manufacture other pharmaceutical companies' products. The main two things we do here at this site is development. So this is a cell and gene technologies company. We do mainly autologous and allogeneic products. That means it's either autologous, we take something from a patient, treat it, give it back to that patient, or allogeneic, we take it from a healthy donor, do something to it, and then give it to multiple people. And those are the main products we make there. But a lot of the things that we're very excited about here at the Lonza Houston facility is that we can truly take a product from concept all the way through commercialization. We have a very strong product development team that has a lot of years of experience that can work through those things and can help you troubleshoot your process, can help you, work through the avenues of throughput and efficiency and just robustness to make sure that it can make it through the scrutiny of all the regulatory agencies we have. On top of that, the Houston facility here is the largest cell and gene technologies facility in the world, like you said.
So let's don't miss that. Let's don't miss that point for just a second. That's a proud moment for us in Pearland. Okay, say that again slowly so people understand that.
Yeah, no, we are. And granted, there are a couple that are getting close, but we are still currently the largest cell and gene therapy company or site in the world.
Well, you have 20 acres behind you that you can still add on, so we're gonna do what we can to keep that tag here.
No, absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah,
That's
a couple
good.
other things. So this facility is actually commercially approved. We got our first commercial approval back in February of this year from the FDA. So that's Lonza's actually first site in their entire network too that has a cell and gene therapy product that is approved. We have multiple other products that we're looking to get approved at that site here in the near future. So we could actually hold some more records. We could have the facility with the most approved cell and gene therapy technology products in the world as well too.
We like awards.
Yeah, I love
we
records.
Like that.
Yeah.
We heard some in the previous panel, and we like awards. So tell us a little bit about how Lonza came to choose the Kirby corridor, Lower Kirby, right here in Pearland as your location.
Yeah, I think it's really three main things. It's the access to the universities, the community colleges, and the technical schools that are around here. We pair with several of them that have already developed programs to bring people into the biologic space. We've also worked with them to send people from our site to go get trained in those facilities and learn through their programs as well too. I think just the amount that are around here and that are focusing on that really provides us with a strong pipeline for future growth and everything else. I think it's also the access you were talking about to the medical center and the research centers. Just having that pipeline of talent, knowledge, and experience, and then potential partners as well too that we can work to advance therapies, to treat different disease states. And then I would say lastly, it's really just diversity. The Pearland and obviously the Houston metropolitan area is a very diverse place, and the Lonza Pearland site is the most diverse site in all of Lonza, and we're very proud about that fact.
So where do you see Lonza? You just now got some approvals, but where do you guys see Lonza going in 3-5 years? That type of here locally, and we'll talk a little bit about your company globally here in just a second.
So honestly, the name of the game right now is expansion. We can't grow fast enough. We have a 300,000 square foot facility. We probably have about 60, 70,000 square feet that we still remain to be finished. As we look at our master plans, we're thinking in the next 2 to 3 years, those will be filled out. And then we start expanding into that extra space that we have, around that facility. And the demand's there. We're lucky that the demand's there for us. It's there for other companies as well, too, because, you can see that there's multiple other biologic companies popping up around, the Houston area and the Texas area as well, too. But, the demand is there for, organizations like Lonza that can help, companies get their product to commercialization and get it there quickly.
Because you have the medical center in our back door, we need that, right? You need to have the speed to market, get there, because the medical center needs your product. Matt, you were going to say something.
Frank, I know a lot of people say to me, they drive by and they say, what's that big warehouse building? Because it doesn't look like you wouldn't know what's going on inside. But maybe tell us a little bit about, I know you've gone, when we first started visiting with your folks a long time ago, 4 or 5 years ago, about coming to here, you were 50 employees, and then we were thinking maybe you'd grow to 150. Tell people a little bit about what your employment level is now and what the skills and types of people that you're looking for.
Sure, yeah. We did have a facility in the beginning that was down near the medical centers, 2 clean rooms, like you said, about 50 people. Today we're sitting well over 600 with plans of being in the 700s by next year. And as you see it, really kind of our projection says, we'll be over that 1,000 mark, 1,200 mark in the next 2 to 3, 4 years, somewhere in that ballpark. So, yeah. Attracting talent obviously has been a big key here. We've seen some success in that. We've been bringing in somewhere in the average about 30, upper 30s, low 40s in a month. To try to bring people in to train.
Wow.
But talking about the facility we're in here, well, that's one of the big things that we need to keep focusing on too, is training and finding different avenues and pathways to train people, to make people effective quicker in the roles, so that we can keep providing those technologies as quickly as possible.
That's great. And so I want to talk a little bit about job growth and job growth here locally. We in the city of Pearland, as well as the Economic Development Corporation, we want to grow companies locally. These guys were a smaller company in Houston. You saw the vision, you moved out, and you've been just fast growth community, fast growth company. And we want more companies just like that. And so a lot of people have asked me, since becoming mayor of what a great city that we have, of how and what is my vision moving forward? What would you like to see? And again, I go back to a community of choice, and I usually answer that question with a question. And the question is, if I could show you a way or give you 320 hours of your life back every year, what does that mean to you? And most people are like, okay, how do you do that? Well, a company like Lanza hiring in our back door, and you can commute 15 minutes to work, not 45 minutes to work. I've just given you 30 minutes one way, 30 minutes the second way back. That's an hour. It's 320 hours a year. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to your quality of life, okay? It means making the dance recital, making the ball game. It may mean going back and getting some education and further training it, because you have the time to do that. It actually might mean that you can spend some time at the city and volunteer on a board and a commission.
Do you want to write the value proposition to bring people into my site, please?
Sign me up. But what does that mean? And just put it back into their court. What do they want to do with that 320 hours over the course of the year? It's not in traffic. It's not in that stress and all those kind of things. But at the same time, being able to live, work, and play right in your own backyard. And that truly is a vision. And it doesn't just happen. As Matt knows, we just don't wake up one day and and it happens. So Matt, tell us a little bit about how to recruit these types of companies. Now we have some synergy, right? We have some real synergy going.
Yeah, and we, many years ago built the Cardiovascular Systems Inc. building right on Kirby, and that was our first medical device, and that was our first linchpin to getting, life science companies to come to the community. And then, Merit Medical came along and was looking for a location in the Houston region, and it was just a good fit. And then, since we've had, one after the other in the lower Kirby area, has really taken off. And so we're real excited about it to have, great companies here, and we're, adding amenities, adding trails. I was just talking to Frank about the trail that we're going to be putting in behind their business, which I know will be a great amenity for their employees. So we're just continuing to try to make that lower Kirby that place that quality companies want to be able to recruit that human talent they need.
So talking about recruiting, I want to turn to Russ Millar a little bit. And first, Russ, introduce, I guess, Millar to the Pearland community, and I think you might even have a good announcement tonight. And because you're here tonight, you're in our town hall, and I'd like to hear a little bit about why you might be here tonight.
Well, it's, I guess the announcement is that we're planning on opening a facility in Pearland. Probably be having our groundbreaking, hopefully by the end of the year.
There you go.
Don't know about the schedule on it, but we're working on it. We are a medical device manufacturing company. We have been in Houston since 1970, or 1969 or 70. My father actually rode his motorcycle down from Montreal in the late 50s to come work with a gentleman named Dr. Les Geddes to develop the biomedical engineering department at Baylor College of Medicine. And they started that, and my dad left there after a few years. Started a company to develop some of the ideas they'd been working on, and then after a few years left that company and started what is now, it was originally Millar Instruments, now it's just Millar Inc. We started in his garage, and then we rented some office space, rented one small office in the facility we're in. We've got about a 25,000 square foot facility. Gradually expanded into all of it, and at some point in time, instead of leasing, we ended up buying it. And we have been there pretty much, since 1970. So we tend to not move around a whole lot. So, and we are currently busting at the seams as far as needing space for all of our employees. We have about 110 employees. We have our management, sales, quality assurance, regulatory. Everybody is all under in one facility. And we have been looking at expanding in various places. We've looked at different locations in Houston. We've looked in Sugar Land. We even looked at building a new building on site where we're at. We're right on the Gulf Freeway, just inside the loop. And it just kind of through looking around, eventually we came upon Pearland and started chatting with your folks. Mm-hmm. And it just made sense. I mean, that was the thing. It was it's a good location. We did a heat map with our employees. It increased the commute for some of them, decreased for some of the others. We have some employees who do live here in Pearland. Mm-hmm. But we'll be opening, the plan is about a 55,000 square foot facility, have about 14,000, almost 15,000 square feet of class 7 and 8 clean room manufacturing space. But everything is going to be under one roof. It'll be all of our manufacturing, all of our management, all of our sales, and looks like we're bringing most of our employees. We may lose a couple. We have normal attrition with people coming and going and retiring. So we're looking forward to having the sort of the employee base in Pearland, just with the good schools, and we already have some employees who live here, and obviously with the people moving. We have done a lot of work with the Texas Medical Center, mm-hmm. and so that's been a big part of the company.
So you're more than doubling your space, if I heard you correctly.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about you may have some proprietary stuff. I want to be careful with all that with both of you.
I can tell you, but I'll have to kill you.
Exactly. But what you can, tell us a little bit about some of the devices that you do manufacture.
Well, actually, I will amplify one of the things he said. If you drive by our building, it looks like a single-story white brick office building. Mm-hmm. And when we bring people inside, they're like, and people who live in the area, they go, "We didn't know you did all that here." And and even some doctors we work with, when we bring them by, they're like, "Oh, wow, this all comes out of here." We originally started, I guess one of our things is, our big thing is making small things. We specialize in making very small pressure sensors for measuring physiological pressures. We started off, the initial products were for measuring cardiac pressures, for measuring blood pressure actually inside the heart. So if you've ever had anybody that has had a heart attack or anything, or they need a cardiac catheterization, we make something for that. And we make a very precise pressure sensor that goes on the tip for measuring inside the heart. And we did that for many, many years. That was our bread and butter. And we also did measured pressure for urodynamics. We also did a lot of animal research. We make some very small pressure sensors now that we can simultaneously measure the pressure and volume in a mouse heart. That's big with the pharmaceutical companies when they're doing their research, for doing their animals, for doing drug studies. So that's a big part of our business. That's the animal use side. But one of the biggest parts of our business started about probably in the early 90s. We were working with a company called Codman and Shurtleff, and they were a division of Johnson & Johnson. They came to us and asked us if we could make a disposable pressure sensor for measuring intracranial pressure for trauma patients. So we said, we'll give it a shot, work with them, and the company has since changed hands. It's been sold from Johnson & Johnson. It's now owned by a company called Integra. But as of now, we're making about 60,000 of those a year. And it's all made by hand. We've got some very talented assemblers. It's all done under microscopes, and the one's done in a clean room. So we have some very talented assemblers and our good quality assurance. And as he mentioned about dealing with regulatory, we get to deal with that. So I've got a good team that handles all that. We have some good marketing people, and we have some good, very, very good management team. And I mean, it brought us here, so that's a good thing. So. And then as I mentioned, we started off pretty much selling, we pretty much made the cardiac catheters and things like that. Our business model has shifted now. We're now looking at, again, as I said, our big thing is making small things. There are a lot of companies out there that are making products where they need value added, they need a pressure sensor on it or something. So we've now added an OEM focus to our product line. We can go out, companies come to us and say they've got a product and they need to add a pressure sensor on it, or they may need something that we can do better than they can, or that we've already got an establishment with a clean room. So that's kind of what we do.
That's again, it's very awesome to see this type of skill level. Obviously, we've got the education systems around here. If you're hearing a theme, even where we're at, training facility, you heard not only our providers but also our manufacturers. They revolve around the need for having good education systems around us. So not only our independent school districts that are right here locally, but our community colleges, as well as our partnerships with U of H Clear Lake, Rice, and others, in our midst. So,
and I think too, Mayor, as Russell said, that they had started out with roots with doctors at Baylor. Lonza bought a small company that was started by a couple doctors up at the Texas Medical Center and got really good at viral medicine and attracted the attention of Lonza. And Lonza came in here and bought that little company, and now we have 600 people doing viral medicine and doing things for Lonza on Kirby Drive. So it's all part of that, going back to the theme of the people we have here and trying to build upon that.
And I'd like to think that Lower Kirby and the biomed, as well as our healthcare providers, I mean, we're seeing Pearland become a medical hub. In fact, we've even talked kind of jokingly with some of the members of the council about we'd like to transform the name of 288 to medical research corridor or medical corridor or something like that, like you've got the energy corridor on I-10. We might as well, if we can help brand that and market that and brand us. Obviously, we want to be careful in how we diversify ourselves. I mean, I think what you're seeing also, anybody that's hearing this tonight, we're just not an oil and gas community. We're not dependent on oil and gas. We're diversifying our own community and our own job base away. And it's not just medical. I mean, we have a lot of oil and gas and financial and those types of things in our community. And so I think as a community, as we grow, we want to be as diverse as we possibly can as a community, because we still are dependent on the world economy right here locally. But I think that's big. We talked a little bit about the pandemic and COVID and those types of things, and you might I'd like to hear from both of you about how COVID has impacted your business. I know Lonza, I think, in another location, not here locally. I want to make sure that this isn't being done in Pearland, but I think it's being done by Lonza. I think you have one of your manufacturing facilities helps with some of the Moderna manufacturing. So you want to maybe speak to that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we have several actual manufacturing sites set up across the world that do actually produce the Moderna product, or part of the Moderna product. We don't do the whole supply chain for it, but yeah, our facility up in Portsmouth does. We have a couple facilities out in Europe that do it as well too. And just talking about impact. I mean, really, you probably see this too. Supply chain has been a huge thing for us. Making sure, because obviously in my world, the products that are treating COVID, rightfully so, are getting the precedence and are moving up in the lines, and so you kind of have to wait to get what you need for some of the products you're working through. So we haven't seen huge. We've been lucky enough that we've been able to stockpile. We've been able to order early enough and understand our supply chain that we don't have tremendous issues, but we are seeing issues from that perspective. And then, I would just say, the employee and the human aspect of it. We've done everything at our site to make sure, we've social distance. We've obviously gone from, a massive amount of work from home. We do testing on site every week with our employees as well. And pretty much trying to do anything we can to ensure both the products that we make are safe and aren't going to have any issues, and the people that are working there are safe and aren't going to have any issues. And I'm sure you have as well. Have had issues. We work through it. We contact trace. We limit the exposure where we can and maintain the business continuity.
Okay, Russ. I guess same question.
Yeah,
How's it?
Pretty much what he said.
Yeah.
No, actually, I will. One thing I do want to say is thank God we were in the medical device business, because there's so many other businesses that just got absolutely completely shut down, and they're done. We did the same thing. We socially distanced, mask. We very early on, at least with the city of Houston, you had to come out and say you're a critical business. So,
right.
Did that. Social distancing, mask. You got a temperature station when you walk in the front door. We have not had any massive outbreaks. We've had occasional. We've had a few instances where people had symptoms. Only, as I said, we have 110 employees. Probably, I'm just off the top of my head, over the 20-month span, probably maybe 20, maybe 25 people, and that I know of, only one was hospitalized. Seriously, gave people the option. The ones that could work at home, we let them work at home for a while. A lot of the people that were, we had some older employees. They felt they were at a higher risk, so let them go on a leave of absence and stay home. So, ran into the same kind of a lot of the things we build require the parts are a long lead time anyway. So we're planning way ahead, but we did have to do more planning on silly things like paper towels and stuff like that. I mean, because that's stuff you need. And I will tell you, we've got as far as the mask and social distancing, but we've got we've got our essentially our house cleaning team, the folks that keep the building clean. They've done an outstanding job. We wiped down the break room tables, all that kind of stuff. So it's been a good team effort, and just thankful that it hadn't hit us that bad, and so. That's probably been a certain amount of luck, certain amount of people being prudent. So.
Yeah, who would have thought 20 months ago that the hottest commodity in the world was toilet paper? I mean, that kind of blows my mind. So, really, as we kind of wind down for the evening, Josh, I'd like to turn. Do we have any questions online? No. That's popped up. Okay, and I'd like to turn it to anybody in the audience that's here. If you have a question, it doesn't have to be for these guys. I mean, certainly. Our panelists, as well as Matt and others, can answer a question. But if you have a question, that's part of what we're here tonight, is to answer any questions that someone may have. Anyone from the audience have a question?
Actually, we do have one
online. Okay.
Somebody was asking about if you could introduce the speakers
again.
one more time.
Okay. Yeah.
If you would mind repeating the question.
The question is introducing our speakers yet again. So we have Frank Bugg. He's site director with Lonza. Correct, and then we have Russ Millar with Millar, and you heard what they do. So his name is on the building. I'll just say that. Okay, that's pretty cool when your name's on the building. So, so I do want to. I mean, we don't have a lot of questions tonight, which is fine. So I'll kind of go ahead.
I actually had a couple.
Yeah.
I just had a couple of things I did want to throw out. One. You mentioned the freeway access. I do want to also emphasize, with having the companies here, having Hobby Airport being so close, and on a smaller level, having Pearland Regional close by is definitely a plus for the company. And your economic development group has done an outstanding job of reaching out and kind of working with us. So we're very happy with that. So kudos to all your people for all that.
So Matt won't be able to leave the room tonight. No, I think you're echoing what a lot of people say. I mean, we do have a great team. We have a great team of the employees across the city, not just Economic Development Corporation. They do a great job reaching out, staying on top of it, hopefully fostering and pushing through a project. We're about to break ground. We can't wait for that. We want to say thank you for choosing Pearland. We also want to thank you for just bringing your business, your heart and soul, and your investment to our community. We'll do everything we can to help get through that process. I believe your building permits and those things are
December groundbreaking
are ready to go, and so, which is great. And so it's construction, so things happen, but we'll all be there and work it through. And we can't wait to not only break the ground, but then open that facility, and we can't wait for Lonza to expand another 300,000, 400,000, just keep going and grow your business. So it's a good time to be in that corridor, and we can't wait for it. Speaking of, I guess, ribbon cuttings and openings and those types of things, so we have several projects around Pearland that are kind of in the final stretches, from a new fire station 4 that's replacing a fire station. The old fire station is going to become a training facility. We have our new animal shelter that's real close to being completed, and if you'll see on the screen, this is our new library that's right across Shadow Creek from where we are tonight. And excuse me, sorry about that.
Run the microphone, all right.
Yeah, I was trying to get it into my coat.
Turn around the world.
Woo. So apologize for that. I felt it coming, and anyway, And so the library is getting real close to being complete. It's an absolutely beautiful building. You can see the rendering here. Our next talk of the town is actually going to come from the library. We hope to have the library open, end of the year, January timeframe. We don't have an exact date just yet because we're getting close on the construction side. But when we know, we'll certainly be communicating that out. We want people to come and enjoy this building. It is a community-related building. It's got a theater style seating in it for about 100 people, which will be perfect for a town hall. We have, Matt mentioned trail system, so the Shadow Creek over to Ivy Park trail system up and down Clear Creek. About 4 miles of trail, plus or minus, in this particular area. It comes right up to the back of the building. So it's a great place for our community to gather. Official name of it is West Pearland Library. And so you should be seeing that go up relatively soon. By way of announcements, I think we've got Trick or Treat Trail coming up. It's October 31, Halloween. Our own Independence Park and our Trick or Treat Trail will be that night, 5:30 to 8. So let's bring out all the great kids in their costumes and enjoy a great evening. We'll have some food trucks, those types of things, live music. It'll be a great event. I believe it's a Sunday night. So yeah, we'll sugar up all the kids and send off to school the next day. Sorry, Pearland and Alvin ISD. On the heels of that, we have Hometown Christmas, our festival and parade, so tree lighting and all of those kind of things. We're getting back to normal, folks. This is what we want to do. We want to get these events back to normal and turn the tide on the pandemic and move forward. So December 3rd and 4th, they're at Independence Park, and we'll have snow, Santa Claus, our tree lighting, and again on, I guess it's Saturday night, the 4th, will be our annual Christmas parade, getting back to it. If you'll recall, we had to forego that last year, and for the full parade, I think we had our tree lighting, which was more of it done virtually, but we'll have it back in person there in the park. So we can't wait for that as we round out 2021. And then, as always, we like people to click on our QR code, give us feedback, tell us how we're doing. We want to bring City Hall, we want to bring some of what we're doing at the city to you so you can understand the breadth and depth of what our city is dealing with on an annual basis. So you can click on the QR code, you can fill out a survey there, and give us some feedback. We want to learn. We'll be here for those in the room. We're here as long as we need to answer any questions. But most importantly, thank you for spending a little bit of time tonight. Thank you to our panelists for not only having your businesses here, but coming and sharing a little bit about what you do. I'm not even going to pretend to know everything that goes on behind those walls. It's incredible work, but it's important work. At the end of the day, what these guys are doing is leading healthcare into the greater Houston area. And so we thank you a lot. We thank you to David and your team here at the facility have been just absolutely wonderful. They've been over backwards. They've provided everything that we've needed, and we thank you for opening your home tonight. Both Memorial Herman and Kelsey, great partners. Thank you for being here tonight and sharing a little bit about your business and about what you do in our community. To those that are online as well as in the room, thank you for being here. More to come as we get ready for our full slate in 22. So we plan to have 4 of these, 1 a quarter. We'll be moving these around town. We haven't set all the locations just yet. We do know we're going to have 1 at the library. Beyond that, we haven't set all those locations just yet, but more to come as we do so. So thank you all tonight. Y'all have a great rest of the evening, and absolutely go Astros. We're now into the ALCS. I couldn't get out of here tonight without talking about our great Astros. They won earlier today, and as we turn the corner, I think it's one of 4 or 5 teams that historically that have made 3 teams that have made 5 league championship series in a row. So it's kind of getting into uncharted territory a little bit. So we wish our Astros well. So thank you all, and y'all have a great evening.